Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can check out our website at weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality.
Hello.
There we go.
There I am.
Back in action.
Here's the voice we've grown to know and love so well.
Yeesh. It's the scariest voice of all time. We are back.
We're back.
And it's, guess what? It's a Matt pick.
It's the final map.
It's a final Matt pick, even though Julie and I, when he sent this one, we were like, yeah? Are you really going to choose
Yeah, we're
this
like,
one?
we could.
And he was like,
we could
yes.
We could just have watched this because you asked, and then we could have talked about it, whatever you wanted to talk about.
That is so true.
But instead, you made this about you one last time.
One last time.
Giving us a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Forcing it down
Yeah,
our throats.
like we were trying to end this semester, we'll call it, on a high note. We didn't have to prepare. We just wanted to do our own thing. And then Matt sends us not only an episode that's not available anywhere but YouTube, but one we actually have to watch from 2001.
Is that what the year was? I was trying to think. Should we announce that we're ending the show as of now? Because we have not done that yet.
We haven't.
This
Unfortunately,
is the final three we're entering
the final three
into.
you can tune. I'm going to cry into the mic. So yes, we're doing, as one of the three coveted last episodes, we're doing Undeclared.
There's a whole history with this show, but I think that this show is actually an extremely important show for anybody who's loved comedy in the last 20 years, because this is a massive show for a ton of people.
So how long did it actually run for? Just one season?
It got its one season.
It was like 20
Judd
episodes,
Apatow.
right? Or did I make-
17. It only got 17 episodes. Okay. So the story with this was that Judd Apatow made the show Freaks and Geeks, and it got canceled after one season.
I liked Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, and he was really bummed, and he's like, I loved working with those kids. I want to do a new show, but by the time we get this show on the air, they're going to be college age instead of high school age, so I'm going to write a college show, and then I can just recast all of Freaks and Geeks, and it'll be like an unofficial sequel. What ended up happening was that the studio wouldn't let him cast anybody except for Seth Rogen. He was the only person that they thought was funny from Freaks and Geeks. So he creates this show, and it airs on September 13th, 2001, 2 days after the September 11th attacks is when this show premiered. Guess what no one was in the mood to watch on September 13th, 2011 was a college comedy.
Yeah.
What's really cool is that this show had such a beloved cult following. It was like the number one, like critically it was chosen as the best show of 2001. It like was listed as like one of the greatest cult shows of all time. It's named one of like the 20 best shows that only lasted one season. All of this stuff. So when the DVD came out, back when like DVD was like the only way you could see stuff like this, they put it out as a giant yearbook. And every episode had its own page in the yearbook where the writers from the show would write like an essay about like the origins of that story and like memories that they had on set and this, that, and the other thing. When you look at the people who directed it, this was the first time that the guy who did Forgetting Sarah Marshall directed something. This was the first time that the guy who did Superbad directed something. This was the first time the guy from Pineapple Express directed something. Like, this is where Judd Apatow met all of the directors and writers that he would elevate. And I think it was Knocked Up, Superbad, and Forgetting Sarah Marshall were all written on the set. Like they were all such good friends that like the original intention, you can find it, I think, on the Superbad DVD, the first ever script reading. And it's literally Seth Rogen playing the character of Seth and Jason Segel playing Michael Cera's character. And they're sitting in the dorm room from Undeclared doing a script reading. It apparently was just everyone became best friends, and this was like a giant hangout for them. And what I love about this show is that I missed it when it aired like everybody else because, there was other things going on. But I'm about to throw a bunch of names out there that only Julie's going to know. When I became friends with kind of like my best friends from college, which were my friends Schropp and Ed and Click, they were obsessed with this show. And the first time I ever hung out with them, we just hung out for 7 hours and watched this show from start to finish. And then it just kind of became, whenever we were hanging out, if we were doing anything, if we were having a poker night, if we were doing whatever, Undeclared was always on in the background. So it's like one of those shows where like I rewatched it to pick what episode I wanted to discuss. And every single episode, I was like, I know this one by verbatim. Like I know every beat of this episode. Like I had seen them so many times. So it always had like this special place in my heart. What I think Kathleen would like about it, knowing like the things that she's a fan of in TV show world, obviously that everyone on set is friends is like a big like must
huge.
for her.
She loves friendship.
I do.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm not surprised that this show has some sort of like nostalgic meaning for you as well. Like I totally get the significance of like Judd Apatow like cultivating talent and this like jump starting so many careers and like great things, but that is why I'm like, okay, that's why he chose this.
I picked that. And if you watch the post-credit scene with Jason Segel, every episode ends with something like that because so much of the show was improvised, because they would just set up scenes and then just trust that like oh, in this scene you two are hanging out, and then walk away and just let Seth Rogen and Charlie Hunnam.
Character was so like, it was like the first time he's not just like loud and like he was kind of like
subdued,
subtle. Like I've never seen him be subtle before.
I love Seth Rogen.
Yeah, he's so cool.
He's so cool.
I do recommend, if you ever have a chance to watch the series, to watch it because it is really, really funny. But this episode I was trying to find one where all of the character stories I thought were like encapsulated their character. So. And it's one of the few episodes where you get Jason Segel as Eric, who is like the runaway of this show. His voice is in every episode because he's constantly calling her on the phone. But this is like one of 3 episodes that he's physically in. So I was like, I want the Jason Segel episode. The concept of them trying to crush this keg, they have to return the keg, but they don't have to return the beer. So they literally just fill anything that can put a liquid into it with beer. And it's just like this dorm covered with like drawers filled with beer, like all types of stuff. There's the one scene where he hands Charlie Hunnam the coffee
I was
mug.
just gonna say, I just looked up the cast. I didn't realize that was
You
Charlie
didn't realize
Hunnam.
that was Charlie Hunnam?
Yeah.
Was it the British accent that threw you? He's so young and
I think that
babies.
it was like pixely on my phone.
Yeah.
So like I was just like, I don't know who that is.
No.
Moving on.
Yeah, this was
Hot
his
boy
first
Charlie
American.
Hunnam.
Yeah, this is his first American
And you know
show.
what? This is just has nothing to do with anything. But
hella
usually
please.
accents are hot. But I loved his like
Oh, you mean like
Jack's
his
voice.
biker voice. Like,
His
where it's just being,
biker
like, a
voice is just
sexy,
like such a hottie
Yeah, he
boombalati
is.
that
Oh my
like when
God.
he came out of like being like Australian or whatever the fuck he is, I was like,
You're
not
like-
hot.
still hot, but
Like
you
hot.
like,
No,
it's
no.
like, I think you
Definitely
mean
still hot.
it's one of the first times where you don't prefer that.
Yeah,
Yes.
you preferred his fake American versus his
It's
Right,
natural.
like,
I
and like, when
wanna-
does one ever prefer
No.
American over anything else? Like, no, talk British to me all day.
Yeah,
okay?
it's like I want you on a motorcycle, like beating the shit out of somebody, just
and like
absolutely-
having that, like, oh, I can't even.
on my
oh.
face. I'm like,
She's like gritting her teeth at me.
But I love that, like, there's the scene where he's asleep and Seth Rogen just puts a full coffee mug of beer in his
Yeah,
hand
but it's
and then
like
is
this.
spraying it with a spray bottle to fill it with more.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
So I love that subplot. I love the subplot of Marshall and Monica Keenan's character where she's like, if you get a pet, everyone's going to think you're so hot. He's
Oh,
like,
she gave me Brittany Murphy vibes.
Jay is always the victim.
oh, yeah.
In anything.
In
he's
anything.
I think
Anything.
he's the worst. He's up there with what's his name?
Topher Grace, you just
Topher
don't.
Grace. I hate Topher Grace so much I can never remember his name. What a fucking dork.
I was a huge Jay Baruchel fan until this year. He had like a Twitter meltdown, and I was like, "Oh no, Jay, no!"
What'd he do?
He directed a movie called Acts of Violence.
I love when they have meltdowns.
No.
It's fine. It's nothing incredible. And he got pissed off that people didn't like the movie and just went on this long rant about like how these comic book nerds just want to take down people who are trying to put out original content. And it was just like, dude, just shut the fuck up.
Oh,
like,
okay. I thought you were going to say like
no, he didn't say like anything.
Cancel-y.
No, nothing. It was just like, dude, not everyone's going to like your fucking movie. Calm the fuck
I was
down.
wondering why you were saying like no. I'm like no, yeah. When they have these like meltdowns, they're so funny and stuff like that. It's so entertaining.
Oh, I'm thinking like when people do like someone I like gets canceled for some reason.
I
Like,
hate that anyone
like
gets
the most
canceled.
recently, this isn't anything
It
she
hurts
did,
me.
and she actually had like she had a good response at Ellie Kemper. Did you see all that stuff? That was sad. Tangent. Did you end up watching Hacks at all on HBO Max?
Not yet.
Okay, it's really good. You would love it too. It's like a young like writer. She was gonna be like a hot new writer for this like comedy show, whatever. Gets canceled and because she tweeted something stupid. But that show is incredible. 10 episodes on HBO Max.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Bring us back.
So the Jay Baruchel plot line is kind of my favorite in this episode just because Jason Segel in this show to me is so awkwardly funny in every fucking scene. Like when he is just sitting in a shower crying uncontrollably and Jay Baruchel doesn't know how to handle the situation at all. Backstory for this. In the very first episode, the first episode is them showing up at college, becoming roommates. And I forget her name, but the girl who's dating Jason Segel's character has a big fight with him. And then her and Jay Baruchel have sex. From that point on, he's like, I got a girlfriend at college. And Charlie Hunnam's character is just constantly like, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You had a college hookup with a girl who's got a boyfriend. Like,
yeah, those two are my least favorite for sure. Like the girl and Jay. I was like,
Did you recognize the girl at all?
So I meant to look her up because I definitely recognize her face. What is she? Who's
So
she from?
What is she?
What is she? Who is she from?
So she's never been in anything big, but Judd Apatow likes her so much that he's put her in every movie. So like in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, she's the girl who keeps saying hi when her and Jason Segel are having sex, and she's just like, hi.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
And in 40-Year-Old Virgin, she's the girl that tries to suck Steve Carell's toes. And he kicks her in the face and gives her a bloody nose.
Yeah,
Like he just
okay.
keeps casting her in movies for like these small, like 30-second scenes because
Nice.
he's just like, she's just nice and I like to give her work
He's the right one to have a relationship with because he has 1,000 movies.
all the time.
And they're all hits.
This is 40 is like one of my favorite fucking movies.
Oh, yeah.
Like I just love it so much. And I am not like in with like the celebrity stuff. And when you told me that like, oh yeah, that's like Leslie's like
Leslie's,
kids,
their
like
kids,
yeah, and like they're married to this person, and well, I'm like obsessed with them now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Leslie Mann rocks.
Those two girls in that movie are so good.
Incredible.
Both of them
Yeah.
are fucking fantastic. Like her obsession with Lost.
I was just going to say it's the Lost thing that you love. That's come up so many times on this podcast.
It's
I love
so
it.
fucking funny because that's like me. Like when she's supposed to be getting ready for the surprise party and she's sobbing in bed at the last episode.
Yeah.
She's like, they all died. Oh, that movie's so good.
Spoiler alert, Lost fans.
I was checking my notes. The fight scene. So,
Is that what boys do?
the scene where Seth Rogen and Charlie Hunnam get into a stupid fight over if You Got Mail is a good movie or not. They said that, again, because it was just like wilding out on set, they were like, just hit him for real. So like all the sounds you hear are the actual sounds from them like hitting each other. And they
Yeah.
said that they had to give them the next day off because they had welts like all down the side of their chest because they were like just really going at it with the punches.
Yeah.
I love how real. I think what I liked about this show was that like as ridiculous as it is of like a vision of college life, it also like you can tell that the writer's room was just coming in with like their own stories and experiences because like yeah, that definitely happens between friends where it's like the dumbest little thing that like they don't like a movie that you love and you just get like really offended and upset about it with them. Like I've absolutely had that situation before.
Yeah, me too. I get so emotionally attached to everything.
Yeah.
And I take it personally when people don't like it.
Yeah, like
Personally.
it's a weird little show. And the other thing I wrote down, and I never thought about this until I was reading the booklet on this episode. And the guy who wrote this episode, who I'm pretty sure was Nicholas Stroller, who did Forgetting Sarah Marshall with Jason Segel, he said that at the very end, when Jay Baruchel extends his hand and Jason Segel's response is put that thing away, and it's like very sincere. He's like, that was the moment I'm like, this guy's a comedic genius, because like that wasn't written on the page. He just like did that in the moment. Give this guy the biggest career in the world.
And it happened.
Yeah, for a couple of years, Jason Segel was just raking in the dough.
Jason Segel looks exactly the same.
I feel like even Seth Rogen a little bit still looked like he didn't really age much for about 20 years.
I've been wanting to see Jason Segel's movie he shot in Philly. Because I hear he's just the nicest guy. Anyone who's bumping into him was just like, he is the coolest. He'll stop for a picture.
Yeah, I'll just talk to you.
I love that. I hate when you hear that people, like celebrities, are like, about that. Like, if I was a celebrity, you want to take a pic? Sure. Let's take a pic.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think that either one of you is going to be like, man, I love this, and I'm going to go watch all other 16 episodes. But did you guys at least enjoy your 22 minutes and laugh and have a good time, or was this just torture? Did I just torture you?
Torture is dramatic.
Torture's dramatic, but I understand why I might have liked this in 2001. But I can't deal with these like old timey, like I feel
old
like
timey.
You know what I'm gonna say?
20 years.
You know
ago.
what I'm gonna say?
20
and I
years
never
too
say this
long.
because I fucking hate laugh tracks. I feel like the show would benefit from a laugh track because the dead silence, the dead air.
Sometimes I don't like comedies without the laugh track because I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh or not. So don't feel like we're leaving you out because that's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing, and we love
that.
when you're like. Your picks may not have been hits, but we love when you're on mic, always. You're always on mic.
Yeah, we love your
You're
voice.
our guy.
All right,
Toonie.
that wraps it up. It's just Toonie, that's it. You know how it goes.
This has been My Favorite Episode Of. My Favorite Episode Of is produced by Matt Kelly as part of the Geekscape Network and hosted by Julie and Kathleen. Check out our show notes for all of our socials and email us at myfavoriteepisodepodcast@gmail.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting apps, and we'll be back next week with a new episode of My Favorite Episode Of.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.